Hey, Guy here. Today you're going to go over the right way to change the oil in the ProCharger. The instruction manual is a little vague, plus there's a few really bad YouTube videos of how to do this. So we're going to do it the right way, which is also just happens to be the easy way. Tools you need for this: 1/2-inch wrench, a 9/16. Let's see, what size is this? A 3/16 hex head. You got to get the oil plug off, and that's really just about it. Oh, and a flathead screwdriver to pop your wheel well. So this should take all of about 5 minutes. So let's see if I can do it. All right, first step. Trusty flathead screwdriver. There are 3 of these body tabs located up here and 2 down here. You're going to want to pop those. Oh, and first thing, turn your wheel hard right so you can get enough clearance. Now, if you when you install the ProCharger, there's a drain down here. So braided steel line with a quick drain. Now you'll notice I'm not using any jack stands, nothing like that. So the car is all 4 wheels on the ground. So if you ever go to change the oil in your ProCharger and the guy has a video, then he's got the car in the air, he's doing it wrong. Basically your plug is here, and this is just a fitting it screws into. And I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to get this drain off without having someone help you. Alright, first off, you take your 9/16 and this is your anchor onto the fitting, like so. Then you take your 1/2-inch, let's see if I got it right here. Nope, other way. You take your 1/2-inch and you're going to make something that looks like scissors. About like that. And be careful not to scratch the wheel. Actually, I'm going to readjust here. Like that. So now I got my scissors going. About like that. And that's all you need. So now you got one hand on both of them. And now you're going to squeeze and bring them together. And that will loosen this plug. And I have a handy Arby's cup. You're only going to, and then it wedges right in there real nice. So now you just finger loosen it and the oil will drain out. Now, pro tip on this, if you want the oil to come out faster, before you start all this, you remove the oil fill plug up at the top. And if you want to take a look right there, you can see, follow my finger. See an open hole where I have already undone the oil fill, so that way it's it's not pulling vacuum, and it'll just straight drain out of this pretty quick. It doesn't take all that long. There's only like 8 ounces of oil in this thing, so but when we go into the inside the engine bay, I'll go over some of the things to watch out for. Because they like to put these little tiny neoprene gaskets on everything in there. So it's about done. It's just slow trickling out. And you can help it along by reaching in and raising that braided steel line. You don't want to pull on it. But if you make it as straight as a pathway as possible, it'll, of course, drain quicker. And also, just be sure, try not to spill any of this stuff on your driveway. It is really slick, and getting it up is, it'll take you longer to clean up than it'll do to actually change the oil in this unit. I've already gone ahead and I let it drip for a little bit. And once it stops, you're pretty much good. You don't have to sit here all day and let it drip once an hour or anything like that. But so we're going to do the reverse again. We're going to make scissors. And this time what I do is I take my thumb and my index finger and I just go like this. And you want to make it tight, but you don't want to go super tight on it. Alright, so get it like that, and then use both hands and just kind of. Alright, and that's pretty tight. So I'm not going Hercules on it or anything. And when you're done, make sure it's stashed back up. And if you want to get a shot in here, you can see this is also where your air filter's at. And if you were to run a screwdriver up here, you could pop this whole wheel well down and access the air cleaner. But my air filter is still very clean. I can see it from here, so I'm not going to go into that. And another pro tip on this: make sure you clean up around the wheel well really good. And the reason why is if you ever see an oil patch building up here during driving, you know that you're leaking out of your refill tube. And if this is all dirty, you can't really tell. So I always try, and especially when I wash the car, I'll always look right here in this little lip to see if I have any oil seepage, because if you do, it'll run out right here. So but I haven't had any issues with it. So when you're done, when we're all done, I'll go ahead and button this back up, but I'm going to refill it, and I'm going to check for leaks here in a second. So next step in the refill process, okay, so and again, this is another issue where people have problems, all right, that I've seen. There are two holes up here. What I'm unscrewing right now is the oil dipstick, all right? And be careful when you remove this. There's a neoprene gasket on the end of this. Okay, this is where you check your oil. This is not where you refill it, all right? But I've seen people refill that there. That's not the correct place. The correct place is in the hole just below it. Now, when you're refilling this, you want to use the entire bottle of the ProCharger oil that comes with it. Do not use anything else. And it's a pretty simple process. You're going to stick this in the hole and squeeze. And let's see. And when it gets going a little bit, I'll probably try and punch a hole in the bottom of this. And again, when you're all done with this, you're going to want to make sure you clean up any spillage. Because again, this stuff is pretty nasty. Alright, so once you get a little bit of an air gap, all you got to do is get a little bit of air coming through it, and it'll make it so it doesn't chug. There we go. And adding that little air hole makes this process about twice as fast if you don't do it that way otherwise. Getting close. It's about 3/4 done. If you put that air hole in, if you don't put the air hole in, you've got to squeeze and then let it chug and squeeze and let it chug, whereas this is just draining freely. And then when it gets close to the bottom, I'll cover it up and then just try and force feed it in. And it's important that you get it all in there. got about half an ounce to go. Alright, all done. Alright. Get a rag here. Alright, so next step. Make sure and put your drain plug back on. And I've already got my drain plug set to the end of the screwdriver here. You'll see that there's also a neoprene gasket on the end of this. Don't lose either of these. And this ProCharger is sitting in a place where if you were to drop this down in the engine bay, you might not get it back without, you know, a parts grabber or something. So be careful. Always use two hands when you're doing this, because you don't want to lose this thing. So, and you want to get it in snug and turn it, you know, you don't want to try and strip it. Alright, and like I said, I'm using the 3/16 hex head on that bolt. Alright, so now everything is put back together, and I'm going to test fire it here in a second. I'm going to make sure all my screws are tight from before when I took this off. And I'm going to check my drain plug, make sure I'm not leaking. And so far so good, no seepage at all. Alright, and that's about it. Literally, that's all it takes to do to change the oil in the supercharger, and it takes about, it took me probably about 5 or 10 minutes this time, including the time it takes to drain the oil. But all I have left to do now is put my fender back together with 3 little pop tabs, and that's all there is to it. And also remember, you need to change the oil about every 6,000 miles, according to the documentation they've got. But also, depending on how you drive it. In Florida here, it's very hot, so you want to basically check your oil every time you put gas in it. That's the safest way to do it. I'm always not the best for doing that every time I put gas in it, but if you ever notice that it's starting to smell burnt, okay, like excessively burnt smell, that's a key time to change it. Also, once you get used to it, you'll hear the bearing inside of there making a little bit more noise than normal. And again, you're going to want to change it when you start hearing that as well. Otherwise, generally about 6,000 miles is good. So, if you have any questions, hit me up. Adios.